Our lecture today about Entamoebiasis disease caused by Entamoeba histolytica parasite, so-called Amoebic Dysentery. Entamoeba histolytica is a typical amoeba, moves by pseudopod extension, has two life stages: actively motile feeding trophozoite, which measure 12 to 50 micrometers, and quiescent resistant infected cysts measured 10 to 20 micrometers, formed from trophozoite when environmental conditions are unfavorable. Reproduced by binary fusion of trophozoite or development of several up to 4 trophs within the mature multinucleated cyst. Amebiasis, which amoebic dysentery, we say causal agent is Entamoeba histolytica, as well recognized as a pathogenic amoeba. Described first by Lush in 1875, and geographic distribution worldwide with higher incidence of amebiasis in developing countries. In industrialized countries, risk groups include male homosexuals, travelers, and recent immigrants and institutional populations. Epidemiology. Prevalence of amoebic infection varies with level of sanitation and generally higher in tropics and subtropics than in temperate climates. Worldwide prevalence is about 10% to 50%. Cysts are important source of infection. The true estimated prevalence of Entamoeba histolytica is close to 1% worldwide. Entamoeba histolytica is the second leading cause of mortality due to parasitic disease in humans, the first being malaria. Amebiasis is the cause of an estimated 50,000 to 100,000 deaths each year. Transmission. First, direct contact of person to person, which called fecal oral. Venereal transmission among homosexual males, oral anal. Food or drink contaminated with feces containing the Entamoeba histolytica cyst. Use of humans' feces, nice soil, for soil fertilizer. Contamination of foods stuffs by flies and possibly cockroaches. This picture shows life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica, and this again the same. So this, which explain life cycle and the process of infection of Entamoeba histolytica. Ingestion of mature cysts in fecally contaminated food, water, etc. Exgestion 2 occurs in the small intestine. Trophozoites are released, which migrate to the large intestine. Trophozoites multiply by binary fusion and produce cysts, which are passed in the feces. Often, trophozoites remain in intestinal lumen. Non-invasive infection. Either individuals are asymptomatic carriers and cysts passer. In some hosts, trophs invade the intestinal mucosa. Intestinal disease. Now we have non-infection and intestinal disease. Second, via blood stream, they can invade extra-intestinal sites such as the liver, brain, and lungs, which called extra-intestinal disease or extra-intestinal amebiasis, with resultant pathology. Invasive and non-invasive forms represent separate species, respectively Entamoeba histolytica and Entamoeba dispar, which are morphologically indistinguishable. Transmission also occurs via fecal exposure during sexual contact, in which case not only cysts but also trophozoites could be infected. Pathogenesis. Effective factors. First, strain virulence. We have classic strain, non-classic strain, and pathogen syndromes. Susceptibility of the host, nutrition status, immune system, breakdown of immunological barrier, tissue invasion. Pathogenicity mechanisms. This parasite have mechanisms to cause the infection. First, secretion proteolytic enzymes اللي هو histolysine and cytotoxic substance. Second, contact dependent cell killing. Third, cytophagocytosis. Amoebic killing target cell. First, receptor mediated adherence of amoeba to target cell adherence lectin, amoebic cytolysis of target cell, and amoebic phagocytosis of killed target cell. This picture shows how the trophozoites invade the mucosa and submucosa of the intestine lumen. Clinical symptoms. We have two stages or two phases, either asymptomatic infection or symptomatic infection. This have intestinal amebiasis and extra-intestinal amebiasis. Intestinal amebiasis have two phases or two stages, dysenteric or no dysenteric colitis. Extra-intestinal amebiasis have hepatic or pulmonary, which cause liver abscess and acute non-separated. These figures or pictures show intestinal amebiasis symptoms: diarrhea or dysentery, abdominal pain, cramping, anorexia, weight loss, or chronic fatigue. This picture show the invasion of submucosa by trophozoites of Entamoeba histolytica. The lesion separate out laterally, certain the flask-shaped amoebic ulcer. These pictures show pathology of amebiasis in the tissue, and this abscess in the liver when the extra-intestinal amebiasis. And these pictures show the trophozoites and cysts of Entamoeba histolytica. Entamoeba histolytica illnesses. When trophs divided and invade the intestinal epithelium, they produce areas necrosis in the large intestine, dysentery, which is bloody mucus-filled stools, flask-shaped ulceration, appendicitis, cause mild GI symptoms, abdominal pain, cramps, colitis, and diarrhea, and produce a cytotoxin is made. If necrosis becomes worse, areas of invasions ulcerate, colitis and hemorrhage and secondary bacterial invasion occurs. Diarrhea with the blood and the mucus in the numerous stools produced indicates severe amoebic dysentery. If trophs invade peritoneum, they can separate to spread to liver and even lungs to produce painful hepatic and bronchial abscess. Amoebioma. It's a granulomatous mass forms in the wall of the intestine and may obstruct the bowel, so it is the result of cellular responses to a chronic ulcer and often still contain active trophozoites, and this will mistake with carcinoma of intestine. Treatment. Intestinal amebiasis can treatment as asystematic amebiasis by diloxanide furoate 50 milligram 500 milligram 3 times daily for 10 days. Systematic amebiasis, which caused by trophozoites, odoquinol 650 milligram 3 times daily for 20 days, or metronidazole, which called flagyl 750 milligram 3 times daily per 10 days. Amoebic colitis, chloroquine 250 milligram 2 times daily. And acute amoebic dysentery, dihydroemetine or emetine hydrochloride 1 milligram per gram daily. Extraintestinal amebiasis, which be amoebic liver abscess, amoebioma, can be treated by metronidazole as above plus dihydroemetine per 10 days, or metronidazole or dihydroemetine as above plus chloroquine 500 milligram 2 times daily per 2 days. Mechanism of action of these drugs. Metronidazole, it has been suggested that this drug is reduced into reactive derivatives which bind to DNA in parasite. Dihydroemetine, it has a direct amoebicidal effect by interfering with translocation RNA translocation at the ribosomes, causing inhibition of protein synthesis through the process of peptide integration. Thank you.